Hello everyone, I'm back with some more Dead Rising. I'm currently beginning the grind to unlock the Mega Buster. And I'm not going to show you all of that footage, of course. This would be miserable to watch. I'm not even looking forward to doing it. But this is basically what you do. You drive around in the tunnels and you hit as many of them as you possibly can. There is a vehicle located here. There's a vehicle located here. And when they break down, you should exit the zone, return, and repeat. So we're going to do this, and I'm going to talk kind of the summary. Apparently I took a wrong turn and wasn't paying attention. We're going to talk about kind of the after show of the Dead Rising series. We're going to talk about what is good, what is bad, whether it's still worth playing, all of that. We've we talked about these things a little bit as we progressed through the series, but this is my wrap up. This is my kind of the final bit of the series. So I'm going to pop in here to get I should really be recording this as a voiceover instead of while I'm playing. I believe the maintenance key is in here somewhere, which allows you to unlock the doors and then save frequently without issue. So, Dead Rising, is it worth playing? Simple answer is, well, there is no simple answer. It's a big maybe. Do you enjoy the other games in the series? Then absolutely you should pick up Dead Rising and you should give it a play. If you have not played them, yeah, I mean, it's an iconic game that had a big effect on the industry. It was one of the only really mainstream zombie games that were available back then. Between this and Resident Evil 4, I mean, it made up a good part of my childhood, of my days spent playing Dead Rising or zombie games. So it definitely is worth playing if you've never played it. Now, if you have played it and you're questioning whether you should go back to it, the answer to that I would say is no, because I found the game extremely frustrating. There is too much wrong with this game for it to be considered truly an exceptional game. I would say that it is passable and it's good enough. You're a zombie fan, but if you played it when it originally released and you're questioning whether you should go back and try to recapture some of that magic that you experienced when you were younger, the answer is no. There isn't much magic here. For the most part, this game is just a passable zombie game. The story is not good. The AI is some of the worst in a modern video game. You will be constantly frustrated by survivors taking off on their own, not listening to your orders, things like that, which really, really bog down gameplay and make everything just feel a lot worse. It's not satisfying. Most of the game you will be frustrated, and I'm not a particularly frustratable guy, but I played this game and it just made me so angry on multiple occasions that I just constantly questioned whether I should quit. I also thought that it was a nice long game that I could invest some time into, and the reality is it's only about 7.5 hours or so. I don't know the exact time, but it's not very much time at all, and they pad a lot of that with these pointless errands and pointless quests that make you backtrack for no reason other than because they're trying to fill out the time. For the last about hour, or not the last hour, but there was a huge chunk of time at the end of the main game before overtime mode where literally nothing happens and the game just has you stand around for literally 12 in-game hours, which is an hour of real time. Now, this may have been an acceptable thing to do 10 years ago, to forcibly pad your game's time with, kind of pointless quests, just filling things out. But the reality is that in 2019, we've grown to expect better than this. And now that I played it, and I ended up standing around for 12 hours doing nothing but grinding for experience and leveling up, because there were no scoops, no missions, no nothing. It was just keep going, just wait around and waste time. Well, yeah, I mean, honestly, you could have put your controller down and walked away for a full hour and then come back and continue playing. And it's so obnoxious. I feel like things like this are just unacceptable. It was so boring and miserable and terrible. It's terrible game design to have your player with literally nothing to do for a full hour. If you ever created a game where your character did nothing for one full hour, that is a failure. That is a very bad choice. And whoever did that should lose their job, if I'm being honest. And it's just one of the many things about Dead Rising that makes you think maybe they didn't play test this game literally at all before they released it. Which is a bit unfortunate, because I think that the bones of the game, the concept of the game, is a real winner. Let's talk about the AI. The AI is extremely bad. Early on in the game, there is a pop-up that tells you each survivor has their own personality and will behave differently in different circumstances. What they're really saying is that each AI has a different level of intellect. Some will follow you closely and obey your commands. Others will not. But regardless of their level of intelligence, they all have very poor pathing. In a very open place like a mall, in my one playthrough, in the one playthrough that I did, there was a house plant in the, I believe it's Paradise Plaza, near the entrance to the security room, where multiple times in my playthrough, 3 separate survivors got stuck on that same house plant, infinitely running in circles. This is something that, had they done any amount of playtesting, they would have recognized. If it happened to me 3 times in one playthrough, it happened to other people just as frequently, or more frequently, or whatever. And so this seemingly innocuous thing of, an AI getting stuck on a furniture item becomes a huge pain in the butt as the story progresses and you escort more and more survivors at the same time. You don't have the time and energy necessary to devote to babysitting every single one. And ultimately, the only way I found that I could drag survivors with me was if I literally cleared out a very hefty path between point A and point B. And this was extremely tedious. I had to edit it out multiple times. And if I didn't enjoy it, I'm willing to bet most of you wouldn't enjoy it either. And so it raises a lot of questions about the choices they made in this game. I think the concept, right? The delivering survivors to a safe place, venturing out into a dangerous, zombie-riddled mall that is full of fun, playful items that you can experiment with and different outfits that you can try on. It's such a recipe for gold that it just shocks me how badly this game plays. Now, they did release this version, which is the HD re-release. I do recommend, if you're going to play it, you play the HD re-release. I got it for about $12. It is cheap. The real question is, should you play it at all? And it's a big old I don't know. If you've played it before, I recommend you don't play it again. I recommend you just let your nostalgia do its work and you remember it fondly and leave it at that. Because I'm concerned that, like me, you will pick up the game expecting greatness and you will find something just truly not so good, and something that it just doesn't have that many redeeming qualities. Yes, these psychopaths are fun. They're some of the most iconic of the entire franchise. Yes, some of the weapons are great. The small chainsaw is wonderful. The unlockable ability to have the laser cannon is just such a great inclusion to the game. But the core game itself is just not that enjoyable. I recommend that if you're looking for a game like this, if you're really in the mood for a zombie type game where there's dozens and hundreds of zombies and there are some vehicles and you pick up anything and use it as a weapon, I highly recommend you play Dead Rising 2. It is, in my opinion, the best game in the franchise. It expands upon the original Dead Rising in that the gameplay is extremely similar. There's the same gameplay loop. You're escorting survivors, you're fighting psychopaths, you're using non-conventional weapons, but it has all the benefits of improved AI, better pathing, combo weapons, a monetary system, which is admittedly a small feature, but is nice because it gives you something to grind towards other than this, which is the zombie kill count that I'm doing right now, which is ultimately just for an achievement and a weapon. And I consider it a much more superior game than this. And so, honestly, can I recommend it? No, I can't. There's just too much wrong with this game to... I mean, by today's standards, this game... I don't know. It has such a soft spot in my heart. I just think, now that I'm playing it as an adult with, a little bit more of an understanding of what makes a game good and bad, I just don't think I can recommend it unless you're really looking for exactly what this offers. But if that's what you're looking for, I would recommend you get Dead Rising 2. I do think it's a superior game in pretty much every single possible category. The only exception to that is that I do like the psychos more in this game, particularly Adam the Clown and Cliff, the man in the chryslips, the Vietnam vet who loses his mind. I do think it's got stronger psychopaths, but I also think that that's really not enough to make the game worth playing. You can just as easily watch the cutscenes on YouTube and not ever have to pick up a controller and be frustrated by the constantly grabbing zombies, by the terrible AI companions, by the poor pathing of both enemies and AI alike. It's just too much. There's too much wrong with it to recommend it. So ultimately, what kind of rating would I give the game? I think it's tough because I'm so tainted by my original impressions. When I was a teenager, I would have given this a solid 9 or 9.5 because it was exactly what I was looking for in a game. Now that I'm an adult with a concept of game design, yeah, this game is like a 5, a 4.5, maybe. If you're really into zombies, you could bump that up to a 6. But honestly, it's like a dead 50%. It's good. There are good things about it, but the good is so badly marred by the bad that it overwhelms. The bad is so bad, and it's overwhelming, and it's unfortunate because I really did enjoy this game when I was a child, and I wanted to come back to it and be really excited and love this game, and it was just a series of letdowns. Add to that the plot doesn't make sense. Add to that the characters are pointless. None of the characters are very interesting or engaging outside of those few psychopaths I mentioned. Frank West is a shallow idiot. He comes here under the guise of getting a story and then ultimately mocks everyone and uses language that I'm not a fan of. Every woman in the game gets referred to as like sweetie or darling or whatever, colloquialism that he uses to refer to females. Guys are always pal or buddy or man or whatever. There's no, Frank is not an interesting guy, and neither are the characters. Add to this the constant barrage of offensive female things, like the fact that many of the women are scantily clad, several of the zombies are scantily clad, the women magnet to Frank's crotch. There's a woman wearing negligee who is so pathetic and shallow that she needs you to take her picture to affirm that she, it's just pathetic. There's a lot of really pathetic sexist overtones. This game was obviously made with a male gamer in mind. They didn't pay any mind to whether females would enjoy the game or whether they would feel alienated or anything like that. They just did not care. The game was obviously intended to be for male gamers. And in 2019, you can say, oh, it was a different time, but it really wasn't, and that sort of toxic gamer attitude has been something that we've gotten away from in the last couple years, that we've been working to move away from, and to play a game where it's just so obvious and pathetically on display is a huge turnoff. So I really wanted to be able to recommend the game. I really, really wanted to love this and to be able to share that love with other people, but after playing it, it's just not even a good game. So I think that's where I'm going to leave it. Not a good game. Really unfortunate, but not a good game.